Good evening, Albuquerque. Thank you for joining this telephone town hall with Mayor Tim Keller. This is our 8th telephone town hall since March as we work to keep everyone updated in Albuquerque. For those of you who are wondering if you are connected, you are. Right now, you are in what is called listen-only mode, which means that you can hear me, but I cannot hear you. Today's town hall will focus on the questions, challenges, and concerns that parents may face as children all across Albuquerque begin the process of returning to school. We will cover offerings and resources from the City of Albuquerque, including childcare and youth programs, as well as highlight issues such as child development, mental health, and creative engagement. In just a moment, we will introduce Mayor Keller, city leaders, and local experts. But first, let me go over a few housekeeping items. Knowing that many questions families have right now are about the classroom and other items directly related to the Albuquerque Public Schools operations, we want to provide you with the best contact information to get those questions answered. Parents and families should call the APS Student Parent and Employee Service Center for general questions. The number to that office is 855-9040. Again, the phone number for Albuquerque Public Schools is 855-9040. Their website is aps.edu, and there are links to important areas for information on the reentry plans, COVID information, and more. Again, their website is aps.edu. We will repeat this information a few times throughout the call for questions that are directly addressed to the school district. For all other questions on tonight's topics, you can press *3 on your phone and you will be put in line to speak with one of our staff members. Again, to ask Mayor Keller and our experts a question on tonight's call, you can press *3 on your phone and you'll be put in line to speak with one of our staff members. They will hop on, take down your name and question, and then you will return to the town hall. Then, if you hear your name, you will be live to the entire conference and can ask your question directly to Mayor Keller and our other presenters. We'll be covering a lot of ground tonight and know that we won't be able to get to every question. That's why we've divided the event into different pods to address specific topics. And because we'll be discussing a variety of information and resources, we've put together a resource guide that can be viewed at cabq.gov/parentsresources. That's parents with an S. Again, a resource guide that acts as sort of a companion to tonight's event can be found at cabq.gov/parentsresources. Along with Mayor Keller, we also have a number of city and local leaders joining us today who can speak to some of the specific questions folks in Albuquerque have been asking. We have Vanessa Bush, owner of ABQ Mom, Johnny Wilson with Fathers New Mexico, Jess Martinez, Deputy Director of the City of Albuquerque's Family and Community Services Department, Joshua Herbert, Aquatics Division Manager for the City of Albuquerque's Parks and Recreation Department, Sasha Pellerin, Senior Policy Advisor for our Family and Community Services Department, Dr. Donita Blackman-Mosley with our Child and Family Development Division, Paige Abrams with the Reimagination Center at UNM, Diana Delgado, the Public Outreach Coordinator with the City of Albuquerque's Cultural Services Department, Kristen Lee, Deputy Director and Director of Community Engagement at Explora, Christina Montoya, Vice President of NASW New Mexico, National Latino Behavioral Health Association, and the Public Education Department Secretary's Family Advisory Board. We have Lieutenant Nick Sanders with the Albuquerque Police Department and Director Ryan Mass with our Environmental Health Department. We will also be hearing from First Lady Elizabeth Kiston Keller later in the call. We'll do our best to get to as many questions as possible. So again, please press *3 now if you'd like to ask a question. Again, press *3 now to ask a question. Now, I would like to turn the conversation over to Mayor Tim Keller for some initial remarks before we jump in. Mayor, go right ahead.
Well, good evening, Albuquerque, and I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your evening to join us. This is really a special edition of our telephone town hall, and it's because it's really focused on resources for parents going into this very non-traditional school year. And let me begin by just saying there's tons of confusion for parents right now, and I can say that because I'm also confused as an APS parent, but we're going to do our best to kind of flesh out where we can provide support from the city and answers, but also, APS is eventually getting answers and going through and informing folks. So Let me begin by just highlighting one basic distinction, which I think most people know, but just in case. The city has no formal connection with APS. They run our schools, and they're really a subdivision of the state is sort of the term, and the city is totally separate. But there is, of course, a super strong connection. And one is just because we all live in the Albuquerque metro area or Bernalillo County, but the most important one is that for years, for decades, the city has actually provided the bulk of the before school and after school programming for our kids in partnership with APS. And the biggest thing is during the summer, the city also handles about half of APS students in our various summer programs. So to put this in perspective a little bit, the city typically helps out parents and kids, again, before, after school, and over the summer. We usually deal with about half the APS population, so about 30,000 kids roughly, and that's typically what we do. Now, because of Corona and COVID, of course, everything is different in very many ways, and we wanted to have this town hall because we know that there's a lot of uncertainty around what the school year is going to look like, and therefore there's also a lot of uncertainty around, well, what about before school and after school care? And I think most importantly now, what if schools don't start in person, or what if they go again to a hybrid schedule? Then what are the options for my kids? So today, again, or tonight, we're going to focus on the city side of that equation. And so there's lots to go through, but I also want to emphasize that, for questions about APS curriculum and so forth, again, that's all for APS. This is basically about everything else around that sort of core APS time when our kids would usually be in school. So this will become much clearer, I think, once we get into the different segments that we have today. And so Alan went through the agenda, but want to remind folks, I'm going to give a quick overview and then we'll save lots of time for questions. We're planning on a full hour and a half today, and that means touching by subject. So we're going to hit, the city programming first, what is available for your children, regardless of what APS decides. That's how we've set this up. And then we'll get into some specialized areas around child development, creative programs, mental health, and so forth. So we're also expecting, speaking of kids, I think our kids will hopefully they're younger, so they should be asleep and whatnot. And I think the First Lady is going to join us at the end for some comments as well. So let me say a couple of things. One, we've been working hard over the summer to provide the same kind of activities for our kids and also allow parents to go to work. And so this year, I think we were able to do a very good job of trying to accommodate things underneath the public health order. So if you've had kids are involved in this, you know how this has worked, but we have, smaller groups, we have masks, we have contact tracing. All of this will be in every program that we do going forward as well. And so what we've done is we've had our zoo programs. We, of course, have our partners at Explora doing their programs. I know the YMCA and the Boys Club have done their programs. And we've had our core family and community centers. So all the available community centers in the city of Albuquerque have been taking care of kids basically since March, since school was announced it was ended. And so for us, this is really how the city's been able to step up. In total, in one way or another, there's about 10,000 kids that we've been taking care of, and we've provided over 180,000 hours of childcare for working families since March. So here's our game plan going into the fall. What we need to do is get everyone who's interested to sign up online, and that is occurring. It started right now this week, and we'll go through next week, and that is going to be in parallel so that as APS formalizes what they're doing, we're going to know the demand from all the parents who need some help with their kids. And we're going to be able to blend those together around Labor Day, so we should be ready to go for September. So basically what that means is we're sort of redoing the summer or extending the summer, if we need to, all the way through December. That's what we're gearing up for. And so what will be available is programs after school, some programs on the weekends, some programs all day. So if we're in this hybrid schedule, you will have options to send your child to for those off weeks. And these are similar, again, to what we do during the summer. So we're going to have our community centers and some multi-gen centers available for that comprehensive. It's roughly, I think it's 7:30 to 6. We'll get into the time, 7:30 to 6:30, and your kid will have great exposure to recreation, different activities. They'll get a meal plus a snack. And again, you can use that flexibly to accommodate both the school schedule and your work schedule. Then we'll have some supplementary programs that might be half day, or they might just be a couple of hours. They also will include tennis lessons, swim lessons. We're going to run all of these all through December. And again, they're all a little bit different. They all require lots of reservations. They require timing. They require masks and distancing. But the good news, we've been doing this since March, so our city knows how to do it. And so for us, the key thing is you can sign up for the lottery beginning now all the way through August 14th. And you can do that at play.cabq.gov. And based on that input, we'll figure out sort of the demand for different types of, during the day or after school and so forth. And we'll match that up with sort of the supply of teachers that we have and funding that we have and what our partners at APS and the state and the county can also come up with. And so we'll merge those together, hopefully relatively in sync with when in-school learning may start, which again, as APS has said, could be the beginning of September, but we also know that nothing is certain yet, so we'll just have to wait and see. But the city will be ready, but it's key that you register for that, you sign up for that lottery. Okay, so I think with that, I'll pause. And one other thing to mention, just Wi-Fi. If individuals are having challenges with Wi-Fi at home, again, critical for distance learning, we are going to continue deploying our free Wi-Fi access for kids to upload and download schoolwork, and that's going to be there's about 90 different locations throughout the city. You can also find that on our website. If there's questions, we can speak in more detail to that. And then the last component is early childhood. So this is like pre-K. And so if you do have this childcare need, the city does have several early childhood centers that, again, have been up and running, especially for essential workers, and we're going to continue to keep those up and running, and we'll go into more depth about those in a little bit. So let me stop there. We'll take a few warm-up questions, and then we'll dive into our specific topics.
Great, thank you, Mayor Keller. And again, to ask a question, please press star 3. Press star 3 on your phone, and you'll be connected with our staff who will take down your question. First up, we're going to hear from some parents groups. And to start with, we've got Vanessa Bush, who's the owner of ABQ Mom, and they're going to talk a little bit about what they're hearing from their end. Vanessa, go right ahead.
Thanks so much for having me, Mayor Keller. My name's Vanessa Bush. I'm the mom of 3. I actually have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary schooler, so I am here in the weeds. And I'm also the owner of ABQ Mom. ABQ Mom's a locally focused online parenting publication for moms and families. And we have over 30 contributors who live right here in this community. We strive to connect area moms to relevant resources and local businesses, happenings around town when things are happening, and most importantly, to each other, so that no mom in Albuquerque feels like she's alone in her parenting journey. You can find us online at abqmom.com. That's abqmom.com. I do see some common themes and concerns within our online community. And so one of those is just really trying to balance this virtual schooling along with life's other responsibilities. That's obviously incredibly difficult. Also, parents are very concerned about their children's health, clearly their physical health, but also the emotional, social, and psychological component of social distancing and staying at home and what that's doing to our kids. And also parents themselves are under a tremendous amount of stress and pressure and suffering from different levels of anxiety themselves. So those are the kind of the things that the recurring themes that I see popping up in conversation. So I get a question that I have tonight is, there's a lot of working parents and single parents and who want to be both provider and also parent for their children, but are used to having, a lot of services at their disposal. And I know Mayor Keller already addressed some of these things for sure, but How can parents continue to work and provide financially for their children and also be present for them during virtual schooling or be at home with them if they're younger, pre-K and below? What support is available to these children and parents is the question I have. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Vanessa, and really appreciate the network too that you've put together, and how helpful I know for the thousands of people who rely on that information. Traditionally, and has always been the case, our line of support is typically other parents, and so really appreciate you helping organize that kind of support and information. So let me speak to a couple of aspects to what you said. I think first I do want to acknowledge that stress that has come with, it comes in so many flavors, right? I mean, if I think of even, Jack and Maya, I mean, Maya is so starved for interaction with, any minute she can either play with anyone else or another kid, it's just so, and even on the learning front, anytime there's any type of lesson or workbook we can do, it's just so powerful for her. I mean, she for every kid is different, but she really, really misses school. And she also misses, all her, friends and so forth. Now she's in the first grade, just to put that in some perspective. But so for us, I think I would mention a couple of aspects. There's also this notion that, and you brought this up, but staying home is really a luxury. And there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of parents who are in a situation where either both parents are essential, one parent is essential, they might be in a single parent home where the parent again has to work, and we're trying to avoid that impossible choice that they should never have to make about, do I go to work or do I stay home and I lose a paycheck. That's exactly what these city programs are trying to kind of alleviate. And so that's a choice that we believe should never be an or decision. We as a community in any form have got to step up so that a parent doesn't have to make that choice. So for us, I mentioned a couple of these, and we'll get into detail, but let me speak, I think, to the sort of flavors of programming that are available. So primarily, we're going to be able to offer, and again, this will all be based on kind of supply and demand, but this is what we're working out. We're going to offer care, all-day care at our community centers for as many kids as we can take and as people need. And so there's about 22 of those, give or take, some additional centers we're going to add in around the city. So there's quite a few. And then we're going to mix in parks and rec activities after school. And we'll hear some of the details later, so stay tuned on some of the details for that, but they are already up on the website, play.cabq.gov. Now, and then there's some other additional kind of really fun programming too, like whether it's tennis lessons or so forth, that we'll also touch on. But I think for that real stress level, hopefully you'll be able to find something that matches up with your schedule and also the kind of challenge you're trying to solve. Now, let me speak a little bit to this in-home learning. I know actually parents started getting letters about in-home learning, and every school is handling this differently. So I didn't check the mailbox when I was home for about an hour today, so I'm not sure if we got ours today, but we have not heard from our school what the in-home learning plan is, but I know from what I've heard, it's very different for each school. And so we're going to try and be flexible with our programming so that if you do have to put your child in, for example, a community center, how can we support that virtual learning if it's on a fixed schedule? Or do we block out an amount of time where the kids can actually do that kind of learning? Almost all of our centers do have computer labs, so I think we are optimistic that we're going to be able to weave that into a lot of our care, but it is not going to be school. So, I mean, we're not going to set the expectation that we'll just be able to do all the online learning with your kids, right? Because our folks who are wonderfully hardworking and well-intentioned who manage these programs are certainly, not certified teachers and so forth. So we're going to just kind of do our best. And again, I think as this becomes clear for each parent, it'll also become clear, okay, what you need. I need mornings, I need afternoons, I need every other week, I need Mondays. And then we can say, okay, here's what we can offer on a Monday. So we're going to be able to do that, but to get in the system and for us to align all of that, it does take signing up for the lottery. And so that's how we'll be able to try and put this together. So the last thing I want to speak to on this is safety. And again, I can only speak to our city programs, but I want to mention this. We have had a very good track record since March with our, whether it's early childhood or our kids programs, but we know that Corona is real and it's here and it's probably not going away, and that positive cases are a reality. And so what we have done is tried to build a resilient programming setup and a resilient city set of services that work through that just as you would, say, for example, in the workplace. So on occasion, we might have a staffer who tests positive, and we do what we're supposed to do. We automatically close. We do all the heavy cleaning and sanitizing, but most importantly, we do all the contact tracing and everyone gets tested, all parents are notified and so forth. And we conduct all of that, and then, you know, what we've seen historically over the summer is, fortunately, it's only happened a couple of times, and when it has, it's been contained to 1 or 2 people. And I mention this because I don't want to be unrealistic or give anyone false notions that anywhere in our city is safe from Corona. That is just not true. And so I want folks to know that it's important to reduce your risk, understand that risk profile for your own family based on health needs, based on your needs. But the reality is, you know, statistically, right, there are people that most of us by now all know who've gotten Corona. So that is no different with school or with work or with, you know, any of the other activities that we may be doing. And so I really actually have been impressed with how our city's handled these kinds of the safety precautions. I mean, even in some cases, I know at the biopark, the kids were holding pool noodles so that they couldn't bump into each other. So if their noodles touched, they were like violating the 6-foot rule. So we've been very thoughtful about this, and all of it works under and in compliance with the state public health order. But I do want to acknowledge just the statistical reality, but we believe in resilience and working through that just as you would anywhere else in the city. So I'll stop there and we can move on to our next question.
Great, thank you, Mayor. And a reminder, you can press *3 on your phone to ask Mayor Keller a question at any time. *3 and you'll be connected with our staff to get your question screened. Next, we're going to go to Johnny Wilson with Fathers New Mexico. Johnny, go right ahead.
Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Johnny Wilson with Fathers New Mexico. And Fathers New Mexico, we nurture connections between the father, the family, and the community to promote child and family health. We really value the families in our community. They're the anchor of our communities, and we know that all members of our families are super important. Fathers sometimes struggle to interact with services and supports, and so we want to provide them specific support so they feel like they have a home. We provide case management for fathers, just individualized supports directed by the father. We also have an evening group every Tuesday evening at 5:30. Right now it's a Zoom group, so we only go for an hour because folks can't be on the Zoom for very long, or I can't, I guess. And so if there's a father out there that wants to get a hold of me or join our Tuesday evening groups, you can call me, Johnny Wilson, at 505-377-8950. That number again, 505-377-8950. Or Gabriel Ortega, who's also bilingual English-Spanish. He's at 213-210-6770, 213-210-6770. And we're also at fathersnewmexico.org. And we invite all fathers to contact us. We're really looking forward to talking to you and helping you out with anything from employment, education, accessing education opportunities, parenting skills, communication skills, paternity, parenting plans. We'd love to help out with that. So thanks very much for having us on the call. And we've had a lot of experience with some families that are dealing with unemployment and interruption in their regular income, and some struggles with making rent payments and other bills. Does the city have any protections for renters who have found themselves unable to pay rent?
Thanks so much, and really appreciate, Johnny, everything you do for our community as well. And for the Fathers New Mexico. And I have to laugh at the Zoom fatigue. That's like another. I'm right with you. It's about an hour, and it's just hard to stay focused, especially if little kids kind of clamoring in the background. So I think to speak to what you mentioned, first these are really difficult financial times, and again, I want to be helpful. I also want to be realistic. And I know in DC they're debating another stimulus package and all of this, and so I hope we all just get as much help as we can from our federal government. But in the meantime, let me tell you what the state is at least doing. We have put up a rental assistance fund, and so that is available for folks. And you can basically apply to it at any one of we have 4 health and service centers, one in each quadrant of the city. And so even if you don't have the internet, or if you want to go somewhere in person, those are our like centers of last resort. And you can go there and get rental assistance. You can also find out how to get connected to things like SNAP, which is like food stamps and things like this. So those centers are really important. Or you can just call 311 and they'll also direct you kind of to the right thing. We've also done a couple of things. We have halted evictions at all city-owned buildings, and we do actually have a couple of hundred units of housing, and so we're not doing any evictions. But the Supreme Court at the state level is in charge of the broader eviction halting, and right now that is still in place, but you do have to apply to it. So in other words, it doesn't automatically get halted. You actually have to go to the Supreme Court website and fill out a form, and then you're safe from eviction. So again, at the city, though, it's sort of the reverse, where we're just not doing any evictions. But unfortunately, that only affects a couple of hundred people. Now, also, we've tried to help. So we've helped about 36 households with rent, about 27 with utility bills, and about 12 families with hotel vouchers. They just needed a place to stay. And so that's through our rental and utility assistance program. And we've also gotten a lot of private donations to help with this. And so we would encourage anyone who does want to help. This is one of the best ways that you can. And you can donate to this program through the One ABQ Fund. And that's available if you just type it in Google or if you want to call 311. And we've received almost 30,000 in private donations so far. It's just been awesome how much people have stepped up for that. Now, the other thing is, I think, more of a psychological thing, but we also try to remind people, there are just a lot of situations in our community where, there can be this unfortunate kind of shaming for people, like if they have to go to work, if they can't stay home, and then also, or if their kids have to go to childcare. And look, we really see this with masks and things, but, especially with families, just want to emphasize that, again, not everyone can stay home. And again, they could be essential. It could be also a situation of income and so forth. So it's just really important to respect people's personal family decisions. And then the last thing that I would mention is also that pre-K childcare. So I know, depending on the age of your kids and so forth, but this is for kids. I want to say 4 and under. Someone will probably correct me on that later. But that's also available too, because those kids are obviously higher need, and so we can put you in touch with ways to take care of those kids as well. So hopefully that speaks to a little bit of this, and we'll move on to our next question.
Great, thank you so much, Mayor. And again, you can press *3 on your phone to ask a question, and I'll just go over those topics again, since it's best to raise your hand, as it were, and get that question in now. So next up, we're going to talk about city programming. We're going to move through child development. We're going to talk about play-based learning. We're going to talk about creative engagement and STEAM engagement, and we're going to talk about mental health, a little bit about public safety as well. So go ahead and press *3 on your phone now to ask questions on any of those topics or any other questions you might have. So, Mayor, you've spent a lot of time talking about some of our youth opportunities and our programs like that. So I think we're going to go ahead and take a question about our city programming. So our first question about city programming comes from Adriana. Adriana, you can go right ahead. You are live on the line with the mayor with your question about child care centers. Adriana, are you there? All right, we'll come back to Adriana. We are going to try Jake. Jake is our next question, and he's got a question about the lottery. Jake, you can go right ahead.
Hi, I'm an essential worker. I've been working through all of the pandemic. When you offered the lottery for the community centers before, I did sign up for those. I did click on the box for essential worker. I did not get it. I don't have in-laws that can watch my kids and so on. I go to work Monday through Friday. My question is there increased capacity planned to handle this school year? My guess is that more people are going to need those programs. I'm going to go to the website now and sign up, but is the likelihood any better now that I would get selected or not? And I do work in healthcare.
Thank you so much for that question, and just appreciate you as one of our healthcare essential workers who's fighting this on the front line. And very unfortunate to hear that the lottery didn't work out. So, but I appreciate you asking this question, because this notion of like how many spots we have is really important. So I have sort of two, I think, pieces that are helpful, and then I believe some of our staff wants to chime in on this as well. But number one, the ratio, the teacher to child ratio is higher than it was going into the summer. It used to be 1 to 5, and now it's 1 to 10. So actually, like literally, our capacity is double what it was compared to going into the summer. And so that's a really good thing for what you're talking about. The second thing is there is a wait list program, and you can, Jeff is going to chime in and kind of speak to this, so I'll let him walk through the wait list. But we have a lot of success for people on the wait list. So it's important that even if you don't get in, you still kind of work the wait lists. And so, Jess, why don't you go ahead and take it over from there. This is Jess Martinez. He's the Deputy Director of Family and Community Services, which runs the bulk of really these programs.
Thank you, Mayor. And sorry to hear about your circumstances. We had approximately 10,000 sign up for the summer, and 98% did click the essential box, which is extremely difficult with, as the mayor stated, our 1 to 5 ratios. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to accommodate everybody, but what we try to do with the wait list, everybody that doesn't get in is automatically put on the wait list. And we try to go through that wait list on a weekly basis. What happens is, just because you register for a program doesn't mean that you are going to necessarily attend the program. So we give our supervisors the latitude based on their recommendation on daily attendance to call off that wait list, and we encourage it weekly. So if you don't get in, we will at some point make a phone call, and we do try to distribute that wait list across the city of Albuquerque. As the mayor stated, the city of Albuquerque does run 22 community centers throughout the Bernalillo County, and it may not necessarily be in your area of town, but we do have resources scattered throughout the city of Albuquerque to try to get you attached to.
Great. Thank you very much, Jess. Next up, we're going to take one more question about city programming. And we have David, and David has a question about childcare versus school. David, go right ahead. You are live on the line.
Yes, sir. I was just kind of curious, why the programs that the city's providing, I guess, are in place as opposed to sending them to school.
Sure. And, I think that's a good question. Many communities all around our country are asking. And, this is one where the city we all have sort of different roles to play in our community. And what I'm trying to do with the city of Albuquerque is provide support for parents who need childcare and for kids who need it. And that question about, well, why aren't we doing this differently and so forth is a really good one. And all I can say is that, it really is fundamentally up to the public education department. That's a state-run department, and then our school district APS. And so the school board and so forth are probably the right folks to answer that question properly. But I will say this, that it is my understanding that a lot of the final decisions for the broader school year and so forth have not yet been made. So I think we'll see how they answer that question in the upcoming 4 weeks.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor. Again, *3 to ask a question. You can press *3 to ask a question about any of our topics or any question you might have. Next up, we're going to move to speaking about child development. And we'll begin with Sasha Pellerin, our Senior Policy Advisor in our Family and Community Services Department. Sasha, go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure that you can hear me.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. So, again, my name is Sasha Peller, and I'm the Senior Policy Advisor for the City of Albuquerque. I want to thank everyone for being on the call today. And just as the Mayor had said, I want to reiterate and recognize the stress, anxiety, and really new ground parents are covering in these trying times. I'm sitting here in this town hall meeting, and I'm listening to my kids in the other room. I'm a parent of a 6th grader as well as a 10th grader. I'm playing this tug of war in my head of the kids have been watching TV for the last 3 hours. Have they ate dinner? And so I know the problems that we're facing as working parents are really challenging. And my heart goes out to everyone. And so what I wanted to offer tonight in this area is just some really basic information that's tangible for parents. So things that have helped me as a parent, and also things that are based in best practices and research. And so one of the things that came up as I started doing some brainstorming and some research was what we can do as parents to ensure our kids are successful and what we can do in our household. And one of those things is study areas. So it's something that we as parents maybe might overlook because we're trying to talk with teachers and balance our schedules and balance our time at work. And so there's lots of things that we can Google. There's DIY if you want to look at study spaces for kids, but it can be very, very simple. Things as easy as setting up a space on the kitchen table where it's quiet, or on a couch, or in a corner, or even in a closet, as my son does sometimes, is something that we can do as parents to kind of alleviate some of that stress. And so I wanted to offer that up for parents tonight to kind of think about, as so many moving parts are swirling around us as we try to re-enter school. There are some things that we can do as families at home to alleviate the stress for our kiddos. Another really interesting point is just how important having this space is. So if you think about schooling and kids having their own space and their own cubby, these are things that have happened for generations and are proven to work, that if kids have some of these things set aside and already organized, they can be successful. So again, thank you all. I'm open to questions when we get there, and have a great night.
Great. Thank you very much, Sasha. Next up, we're going to hear from Dr. Donita Blackman-Mosley, and then we'll take a couple questions right after that. Go ahead, Dr. Blackman-Mosley.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Donita Blackman-Mosley, and I'll be talking about parenting a child with special needs during the pandemic. Many parents of children with special needs are far too familiar with the feeling of isolation. While online support systems remain, parents have lost their village. Where families once had a team, in the blink of an eye, parents have become responsible for keeping afloat what took an entire team of professionals to accomplish pre-COVID-19. So although distance learning and teletherapy opportunities provide some consistency and continuity, those experiences may not be possible depending on the internet access and location, which then places child learning square on the shoulders of parents. Many children with disabilities or special needs thrive on routine, and their routine was disrupted with no time to transition. Now your routine-driven children are expected to change their established routines at home and accept their parents as their teachers, service providers, and even friends. The most important thing parents or caregivers can do to help their child with special needs cope during these uncertain times is to create a routine or schedule. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to help establish a routine in times like this. It helps kids know what to expect, and it helps with the stress that can be caused by not knowing. Families who are struggling with special education instruction can ask their children's school to help create a schedule based on a typical day at school. Visual schedules are super helpful in letting kids know what to expect, what comes next, and when an activity is completed. This is especially important for kids who have difficult time comprehending verbal direction. Parents can even go a step further by incorporating visual timers, such as a kitchen timer. Visual timers can also be used to help children know when an activity is coming to an end and when it's time to move to something else on the schedule. I hope that those of you that are listening found these tips helpful and worth trying. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Blackman-Mosley. We're going to go ahead and take some questions now. Our first question comes from Will, and Will has a question about motivating kids. Will, go right ahead. You are live on the line.
Good evening, Mayor, and thank you very much for taking my call. So my question is about distance learning and motivation for our young folks. I have a school-age special needs student who, quite frankly, was very unmotivated to do schoolwork while attending school remotely, as it really wasn't his preferred method of learning. Sometimes he would lie about things being complete and turned in, and quite frankly, I'm worried about him starting virtually again this year. Do you have any tips on how I can encourage him to succeed while also being realistic about the social and emotional challenges of distance learning?
I'll take that question. Involving your child in setting the schedule is really key, and it will really be helpful. To involve children, parents can set up a family meeting. At that meeting, parents can discuss the schedule and ask the children their input on the decisions, like what time everyone should be out of bed and dressed, when we're going to have breaks from schoolwork, just allowing kiddos to be part of the decision making, and allowing children some choice. Schoolwork has to be done, chores have to be completed, but having some choice about how they're going to accomplish can help children feel less pressured, coerced, and which could potentially undermine their motivation. Another idea is listen and provide empathy. Children will be more open to hearing about what they need to do if they feel their own perspectives are understood. Parents can let children know that they understand, for example, this is not fun to be in the house, and we understand that you miss your friends, but these are our responsibilities now. The world has kind of done a big shift, and we have a new norm that we need to adjust to, and in order to keep our learning and our growth moving forward. And just really providing reasons for rules. When parents provide reasons for why they're asking for something, children can better understand the importance of acting in particular ways. Reasons will be most effective when they're meaningful to the child in terms of the child's own goals. For example, a parent can say that dividing up family chores will help everyone have more time and fun activities. Staying on task with your work, following your schedule, as we've outlined, to try to make the home environment model as close to what goes on in a typical day in the classroom. Following that daily routine, that schedule that we have outlined, and then even incorporating breaks, playtime, outdoor play, a lunch break, different things of that nature to try to mirror things as best as possible to what a typical day in school looks like.
Great, thank you very much. Next up, we're going to take a question from Fred. And Fred's got a question about helping families learn a little bit more about this situation. Fred, go right ahead.
Hello. This is
Hello,
Fred
yes,
Pettis.
go ahead.
I'm a retired professor and administrator from the University of New Mexico. This is very unique times in our world. Methods of learning. So I have a sort of a two-pronged questions after listening to a lot of discussion. One is that we have a lot of duplication of services here in the city, in state government, federal government, Bernalillo County. Is there some sort of some sort of leadership that says, okay, let's gather all our resources, whether it's Christian groups, whether it's schools, APS, whether it's government. Every agency has different programs, so we have quite a pool of resources. So now we need leadership to gather all these resources so we don't have duplication of services. That's one question. So we need leadership. Is there somebody or somewhere that we need to create a focal point for this leadership, for this type of leadership? Second, adult learning. I know that children should be learning from their parents. That's the number one factor in education. Not APS, but parents. So what are we doing for parents to get them so they're be on the same level as their children so they can help them learn? Those are my questions.
Thank you very much, Fred. And Sasha, can you talk a little bit about how we're assisting parents during this tough time get up to speed?
Absolutely. I'm actually going to take both of those questions if you don't mind. And Fred, thank you for attending the meeting and asking those. Those are both fantastic questions and something the city has been working pretty extensively on. To talk about the duplication of services and a focal point, the city of Albuquerque has taken on a few initiatives. I'm the senior policy advisor in education, and I've been working in tandem with APS with their administration and a few individuals who are in the education policy realm with the district as well. And I've also reached out to PED and will be reaching out to Bernalillo County. As part of the initiative that I'm overseeing with the city is the Kids Cabinet. The Kids Cabinet is really geared toward not duplicating services in our city and providing the best services that we possibly can for kids pre-K all the way through age 24. And so you can Google it. I believe it's on the website, the Kids Cabinet. This is an initiative that came forth under Mayor Keller's administration and something I'm very passionate about. So as we move forward, the COVID response has been challenging and has really pushed everyone to our extremities, all the institutions and all the players, but we are little by little taking note and trying to come together, one, to not duplicate services and even a push forward in creating recommendations for our legislative session. The second question that you asked about adult learning is also something I'm very passionate about and something we can definitely take into consideration a little more moving forward. Adults are going to be teachers this semester across the country and across the world. And as we move forward, this is something that we definitely need to take into consideration. The city, as mentioned before, does have a list of resources that parents can refer to. And I believe APS is also working on this. So I don't have a clear answer for how we're doing that now, but it's something that I'm going to think about moving forward, and hopefully coming back we'll have some more answers in this area. So thank you so much for asking that. I believe my information can be found if you Google my name. I hope my email's on the website, but thank you so much.
Great, thank you. And a reminder to please press *3 for any questions. Next up, we are going to talk about play-based learning, then creative and STEAM engagement, mental health, and then any other questions. Again, please press *3 on your phone to ask Mayor Keller or anyone else a question. So next up, we'll move to Paige Abrams with the Imagination Center at UNM to discuss play-based learning. Paige, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me on the call. Happy to be with you tonight. I am part of the Family Development Program at UNM. We're part of the College of Education and Human Sciences. And we have a resource center for adults who work with young children, which is right now closed to our membership, unfortunately. But we have put a series of recipes on our website, meaning they're activities you can do with everyday items, things you would find around the house. They explain learning objectives. They give you questions to ask your child. And like examples are making nature mobiles, alphabet letter sock babies, tinfoil textures. So we have 72 recipes on the site in English and Spanish. And we really just advocate that people at play are playing, because children really do learn best through play, and adults actually also do. So we are here to inspire you to play and be creative with the things around you. And that's it.
Great. Thank you, Paige. And Paige, we've got a question here. It comes from Jasmine. And Jasmine has a question about hand-eye coordination.
Hello, everyone.
Jasmine, go right ahead.
My 5-year-old has weak hand-eye coordination. Are there any home activities that you could recommend to help build her skills?
Yeah, so sorting exercises are really valuable. So if you take like an ice cube tray and put beads or marbles or stones in there and have her sort them by size. So picking up, doing that little pincher motion is really important. Also, one-to-one correspondence. So if you line things up and touch each object as you count them, that helps also. And fine motor it's helped by larger movements with the hand. So like putting a big piece of tinfoil out and putting shaving cream on there and letting her write letters in that big sweepy motion is also helpful. Cleaning, like making the circles with the hand sort of, it gets her fine motor skills tuned up, and that really helps with literacy and being able to connect her thinking to what she's doing, which is helpful for her hand-eye coordination. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much, Paige. And as a reminder, all of the resources discussed tonight will be available at cabq.gov/parentsresources, and that's parents with an S. *3 on your phone to ask a question for Mayor Keller and our other presenters today. Again, *3, and our staff will take your question. Next up, we're going to move along to creative engagement, and we're going to hear from Diana Delgado with the City of Albuquerque's Cultural Services Department. Diana, go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for giving me the time to be here with you all this evening. As an artist myself, being able to creatively express myself during these trying times has been my saving grace. This fall, there is a wide variety of creative engagement opportunities for youth, allowing your children to continue to grow their creative skills or even try out something new. They can perform with Cardboard Playhouse at one of their Sunday Night Live virtual performances by submitting their very own act, or join in during one of their show portions of the night. They can become part of a community of young artists and continue to develop their visual artist skills and paint their experience of coronavirus with Museum School at the Albuquerque Museum of Art and History. They can even take an online flamenco class with the National Flamenco Institute or choose from a variety of different dance styles with Cachette Dance and Center for the Arts. In fact, you can join a Zoom dance party every Thursday night with Cachette. Immerse yourself in the dynamic sounds of chatter as they weave together traditional and contemporary chamber music live from the Albuquerque Museum every Thursday evening. Can't get enough live music? The New Mexico Philharmonic goes live on Facebook every Wednesday evening. Entertain your littler ones with whimsical stories and songs each Wednesday with Stories and Music in the Sky from the Anderson Abruzzo Albuquerque International Balloon Museum. With a wide variety of creative engagement opportunities, there is enough to keep your kid moving, thinking, and creating all throughout the school year. Who knows? some of these things might even inspire your inner child as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Diana. And next up, before we take a question, we'll hear from Kristen with Explora. Kristen, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Alan, and thank you, Mayor. I'm Kristen Lee, Deputy Director of Explora. We're focused on keeping kids and families engaged in creative STEAM activities. STEAM, that's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And it's very possible to add scientific play to your children's fall semester of learning, no matter what the schools decide on for their format. If you want to engage without leaving the house, Explora has posted lots of activities on our Try This at Home page. The website is explora.us. That's like United States, explora.us. You click the Visit tab and then Try This at Home. And there you can pick from all kinds of activities. Some of my favorites are gravity painting, make your own lava lamp, there's magnetic slime, there's marble mazes. A member of our teen advisory group posted an experiment to extract DNA from a strawberry. So there are lots of great activities on that site and also posted on Explora's Facebook and Instagram pages. There's also some cool interviews with local scientists. Another great event to look out for this fall is the New Mexico Science Fiesta. It's that event's 4th or 5th year. Of course, it's virtual this year, so that's a change. And it takes place the week of September 18th to the 26th. But you can access all of the New Mexico Science Fiesta activities from Explora's website. There will be science demos, links to activity cards, live streamed talks and tours of local labs, and a lot more. And then finally, if you're ready to get your kids out of the house to see some different friendly faces, or because you just need to go into work for a while, there are options for in-person STEAM learning experiences as well. For an example, Explora is offering week-long STEAM camps every week for kids in kindergarten through the 8th grade. And those are just rolling into the fall since we're on a longer than typical summer here. We will continue to supplement any hybrid or remote learning schedule that APS has with science clubs and day camps and all kinds of things right into the fall. So again, at explora.us, you can click on education programs and then camps. And we know that it is critically important that all kids have access to this type of learning, and finances are tough right now. So please do not hesitate to get in touch with us at Explora, and we will make this work for you. We have scholarship money, we have pay what you can options, we have free programs. Just reach out because we really do want your child to join us for creative STEAM engagement. And you can email us at explora@explora.us.
Great. Thank you very much, Diana and Kristen. Let's go to a question here on this topic. And our first question here will be from Helen. And Helen has a question about screen time. Helen, go ahead.
Yes.
You're live on the line.
Yes, thank you. So my teenager can't seem to get enough of Minecraft and Instagram and texting with her friends. She does have interest in science and theater, and so I wondered if you could talk about any programs that she might be able to engage with virtually in those two areas.
Diana, Kristen,
I
what
can
do you
tackle
think?
the theater part. Hi, Helen. This is Diana here. So as I mentioned previously, Cardboard Playhouse Theater Company, if they love performing. So this is, again, if they want to kind of have the feel of performing again. Every Sunday night, they do the Sunday Night Live. So they can just tune in, Zoom in, or also propose their own act. and you can find out more information about this by going to cardboardplayhouse.org. Again, that is cardboardplayhouse.org. There are also currently virtual acting classes that are being provided by Soul Acting Academy. And so those are for a variety of ages, and they meet over 4 weeks. However, there are options that if you would like to do it, complete the course in 2 weeks, that is also an option. And so you can find out more information about that at soulacting.com. Again, that is soulacting.com.
Great, thank you very much. Again, *3 to ask a question of Mayor Keller or any of our presenters here today. Next up, we're going to move over to another question here that's related to a handful of topics that we've got. So we're going to go to Kirsten, and Kirsten has a question about kids interacting with other kids. Kirsten, you're live on the line. Go ahead.
Hi. So my husband and I have 5 kids. 4 of them are older, and they get online and talk with their friends and do, all the stuff, interacting with their friends. Our 5th is 3 years old, and he was going to preschool before COVID hit, and he was interacting with friends every day. But he can't do that anymore. And we're going to be doing, or at least my husband's going to be doing online schooling with all the other kids. So we're not going to have a lot of time to go out, consistently to open spaces and stuff like that. So I guess my question is there any type of programming, like interactive online program that the city can offer for pre-K children, like under 4?
Hello, this is Diana here again. So the Albuquerque Museum does offer preschool adventures in art from home, exploring shapes and colors, and that is perfect for your child's age range. And you can find more information about that at the cabq.gov/parentsresources. Again, that is cabq.gov/parentsresources. That one would be really great for your little one because it's actually interactive. It's a class. Again, I would also, I mentioned the Cachette dance party that happens every Thursday, and that would be fun for all of your children, including yourself, and that is every Thursday. That information can be found at the same website at cabq.gov/parentsresources. Again, that is cabq.gov/parentsresources. And the one last thing I would like to mention to you is on Wednesdays, every Wednesday in the morning, the Anderson Abruzzo International Balloon Museum does Stories and Music in the Sky, and those are opportunities specifically aimed for young people in preschool. And that you can either live stream that on Facebook, and our Balloon Museum will be opening, I believe it opens tomorrow.
And on the science side of things, we have a Growing a Scientist program. So explora.us, you can check out the preschool programming as well.
Great, thank you very much. I'd also like to hand it over for a moment to Josh Herbert with our Youth Connect program to talk about some of the opportunities that are available sort of up and down the age spectrum. Josh, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so thank you for the introduction. And I'm part of the One Albuquerque Youth Connect, which is a collaboration of multiple city departments providing youth programs from youth employment and internships to after school, weekend, and all-day programming. Jess and the mayor had talked about the all-day programming through community centers, but a lot of our other city departments have also prepared to offer additional programming in our own areas. So being the aquatics division manager, we've been able to extend the lap swim times in our outdoor pools throughout Labor Day. We have also managed to extend some of our private lessons through the end of this month. For the rest of the year, we have organized additional private lessons through the fall. So this is great for ages 6 months all the way to 14 years of age. And swimming is just a very key skill that could lead to someone's life being saved in the future. So we'll have those classes. They vary mornings, evenings, and weekends, and they'll be conducted at the West Mesa Aquatic Center, the Valley Pool, Betsy Patterson Pool, and Sandia High School, and the Los Altos Pool. This summer, we actually partnered with UNM Health Sciences to provide water safety and instructional videos for parents to learn about being safe around the water. We also taught infant and child CPR, and we also showed parents how to teach their children swimming skills from parent-taught all the way to preschool and then all the way up to the more advanced swimming strokes. I'm also with Parks and Recreation. We have our beautiful open space, and our open space division is extending their summer Explorer camps on Saturdays through the end of this month as well. So the Explorer camps are for children ages 6 to 10 years old, and then each day is a different theme focused on environmental education activities, nature exploration, story time, journaling, and crafts. And then for the rest of the school year, the Open Space Visitor Center has developed something that's really new, and it's called the Outdoor Field School, and that's on Thursdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to noon. And that's where kids will explore Albuquerque's environment and natural surroundings. The Open Space Division is also working to continue to expand the current programming through our beautiful open spaces in the metro area this fall through many different partnerships that are being established as we speak. And then our Recreation Division of Parks and Recreation is providing tennis instruction this fall, and it'll run through the end of October. The tennis lesson program is available for children 5 years of age all the way up to 14, and it'll be held at both the Sierra Vista Tennis Complex as well as the Jerry Klein Tennis Center. And classes will be offered various times, mornings, evenings, as well as weekends. So plenty of opportunities for you all. And then many other city departments and Youth Connect, we've created out-of-school time programming as well as a wide variety of virtual programming, which you've heard tonight. And all the programs that I've discussed and then many more can be found by going to the play.cabq.gov. That's the registration site. But then what we've created through Youth Connect is a mobile site, which is very interactive, and you can scroll through and see all the different programs that we have to offer. And this mobile site is yc.cabq.gov. Again, that's yc.cabq.gov. And I'm very excited to share that with you all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. A reminder, *3 on your phone to ask Mayor Keller or any of our presenters a question here. We are seeing a number of questions that are specifically related to the Albuquerque Public Schools. So as a reminder, their website is aps.edu, and their phone number is 855-9040. Again, for questions specifically related to the Albuquerque Public Schools, you can reach them at 855-9040 or at aps.edu. Next, we're going to move on to discussing mental health and some of the mental health aspects around these topics. And we're going to speak with Christina Montoya. Christina, go right ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for their participation and for Mayor Keller and his staff for opening up this dialogue and bringing people together to ask and answer questions. And it's really my privilege to participate. Specifically, Mayor, I'd like to thank you for really at the beginning of the call talking about how individualized and different the approach and delivery to teaching, learning, supporting our children and families needs to be. You know, we are individuals, we are students, families, children. We don't fit into formulas. We're human beings. And so that being said, I really want to encourage everyone to respond to, if you have children in school, respond to the surveys that are being sent from the Public Education Department and your school district or your early childhood development communities, but also reach out to those organizations with your own questions and concerns. Your teachers, your administrators, your city, your school counselors, your school social workers are working hard to provide wraparound supports in these times where children are not reporting to brick and mortar and traditional learning environments. So please reach out, ask for support to help address questions, concerns, work with anybody that will talk with you to create an engaging community amongst your circle, right? We all have a circle, whether it's a little circle or a big circle, or start creating your circle. Figure out who you can talk to. And I've stated some of the more obvious examples, but also, and celebrate everything positive that you can. Now, that being said, if we were to ask ourselves right now, how are you feeling? We're often asked this, or we ask ourselves, and we just say to ourselves or to whomever that we're fine. And we try to convince ourselves that we are. But this has been a difficult time, and emotions can be complex. And so you may be feeling sad, worried, stressed, even if it's not on the surface. And even if you've been coping relatively well and in your mind not experiencing a personal crisis. So I'd like to reiterate some resources. The mayor has referred everybody also to aps.edu, but also, I'm the vice president for NASW New Mexico. Go to naswnewmexico.org. We have some resources there, as well as some links to some of the agencies that are available to help and provide support locally and statewide. I'm on the board of the National Latino Behavioral Health Association. Please visit our website there at NALBA. It's NLBHA. It's the acronym for National Latino Behavioral Health Association.org. And I also want to refer everybody to a website called HowRightNow.org, because we're trying to cope in the moment daily. And that has some really great ways to reaffirm the strengths that we have, and the New Mexico Crisis and Access Line. I also want to give that phone number. It's 1-855-662-7474, which is 1-855-NM-CRISIS. And just remind everybody that if you're having a life-threatening emergency, please call 911 immediately.
Thank you very much. And we've got a question here from Crystal that is very on topic. Crystal, go right ahead. You're on the line.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Crystal, and I think you may have already answered my question, but I was wondering what resources were available for mental health for adults, parents, teachers who are feeling a little stressed right now. And I do believe you gave us some excellent resources, so thank you for that.
Well, Crystal, it's my pleasure, and I didn't say this, and I didn't have myself introduced as such, but I am also a licensed special education teacher and school social worker. So I'm trying to look at the whole picture when we're looking at parents and resources, and and just reminding people to take the best care of yourself as you possibly can. And do those little things that bring you joy. Do at least one thing for yourself daily that makes you happy. And also, and for our kids, check in with them. Find out what's one thing in a day that's going to make them happy. Because, we were talking earlier, I heard the questions about motivation and how do we motivate our kids. Well, part of that is discovering their wants, interests, and needs, right? And also our own in this time and how we can meet them in a very unique situation. So thanks, Crystal. I really appreciate your question.
Terrific. Thank you. And again, that website for resources is www.cabq.gov/parentsresources, and that's parents with an S. And you can press *3 to ask a question as we're coming into the final moments of the event here, about 20 minutes before we're going to try and wrap up. We'll get to as many questions as we can. Next up, we do have our First Lady for the City of Albuquerque, Elizabeth Tim Keller, here with us. As Mayor Keller mentioned, they have 2 young children as well and are going through many of these same things that parents all across the city are. So next we're going to hear from First Lady. Go right ahead.
Great, wonderful. Well, I just wanted to start off by thanking everyone for making time to join this tonight. We know and feel like lots of you, right, the stresses of navigating the uncertainties, the decisions, especially as we're all navigating questions about school and childcare and work and those pieces. So I just want to echo the words we've just heard from Christina and this reminder as we're navigating all of that, right, to take good care of ourselves just like we're taking good care of our children and our family members around us, allowing ourselves to feel these feelings and being gentle with ourselves, right, as we navigate all of this. I know for me it's been impressive, and we get to see firsthand on a regular basis just the tremendous outpouring of love and care and community action over these last few months. And I just hope sincerely in all these moments that folks know that they're not alone in this, that they've got teams of folks at the city, right, with a lot of the community partners you've heard from tonight, with neighbors and extended family that are all here to help as we navigate, right, the coming days and the coming months. So mostly just want to share my sincere gratitude to all of the work you all are doing as parents, to all of the folks who are online tonight, who are trying to step up and serve families in the best way and adjust as quickly as they can to changing circumstances. It really is inspiring and energizing to see from our vantage point. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And we are seeing questions about that resource guide again. So it will be available on the web at cabq.gov/parentstownhall, and that's parents with an S. And you will be able to download it as well. So there'll be a document you can download and email around to your friends and family, anyone who needs that information. So again, cabq.gov/parentstownhall, and we'll also make sure that we get a recording of this event up there. So we know we've moved through a lot of information, heard from a lot of great people, so we'll make sure that information is available to listen to again as well. Next up, we're going to take some questions here that maybe didn't fit into one of these topics exactly, but are things that are on parents' minds as we're heading into the school year. So our next question will come from Joyce. And Joyce has a question about public transportation. Joyce, you can go right ahead. You are live on the line.
Good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a question that concerns me. It's about the transportation situation. My second grader depends on transportation to and from school. And my concern is how are they going to handle the support the children and keeping them 6 feet apart and that situation because I don't drive. So I'm just wondering how that's all going to fit into going back to school.
Thank you for that question. Mayor, would you talk about some of the public transportation and processes that we have in place right now?
Sure. Yeah, so for us at the city, of course, we have two primary sort of modes of transit, just for listeners who maybe aren't quite as informed, right? We have our bus system, which I think we're familiar with, and then we have the Sun Van system, and that's used for folks typically who either can't drive for a disability reason or often also too just because of age and so forth. So what we're doing is a couple of things. First, on the Sun Van side, our Sun Vans are continuing to operate. They really are essentially emergency transport, often to doctors' offices and sometimes grocery shopping and so forth, and also different appointments folks might have. We often see barber and even things like that, just for folks who really can't. There's no other way for them to get there, and it's not something that's on a major bus route. So that system is being handled more on sort of with the one-on-one COVID protocols, meaning that the drivers are wearing masks. They make the riders wear masks. There's only usually 2 or 3 riders per van anyway, and so they're operating within that limited capacity to enable 6-foot distancing, and then they're sanitizing after every single patient. And so that system actually has worked quite well. We haven't had any major issues with that. Now, the bus system is a little bit different, and we do have our Director of Environmental Health on this, so I'll speak a little bit to the buses, and then Ryan Mast can fill in on some of this. But with respect to buses, whether it's ART, the Albuquerque Rapid Transit up and down Central, or it's our traditional ABQ ride fleet that's all over the city, they're operating at a social distance capacity, so they're reduced capacity. Face masks are mandatory, and they also Now we have enabled the transit security folks to basically, we won't let you on a bus if you won't wear a mask. And so we know like that's the rule anyway, but we are enforcing that strictly. And so the drivers have masks available, and the drivers wear masks, and the buses are then cleaned each day, fully sanitized and deep cleaned. And so fortunately, I think on the buses, we've had, again, limited positive cases. We've had a few, but very limited over the last 6 months. And so we feel better about that. But we did have to get really serious about mask enforcement. And so in general, on some of the other issues, especially sanitation and so forth in public, and other items, I'll hand it over to our Director of Environmental Health, Ryan Mass.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Joyce, for that question. You know, I think right now, you know, over the last several months, we've been making a lot of adjustments, both at city services, but then just as a society, on the sort of behavioral aspects that we need to be taking in order to create a safer environment for ourselves. And this, of course, includes everything that we have to do throughout the day, including transportation and how we're getting to and from places. And so a lot of the practices that we've been implementing in the city, and as it goes to making sure that our services continue to be provided, are really some of the best practices out there in order to really reduce that risk of spread. I think the mayor mentioned it very early on in the call that there's no place that's going to be completely safe with so much active of the virus in the community right now. But we need to be taking all of these precautions in order to get us. So when it comes to transportation, definitely looking at capacity limits and adjusting those down so you're not having overcrowded vehicles, et cetera. Wearing a mask every time in public, and this is something that I think is just all of us as members of a COVID positive society need to become accustomed to doing. You know, and then just frequently utilizing hand sanitizer and taking other precautions to kind of note where we're around. You know, when it comes to some of these other situations where there's more control in who you might be taking transportation with, and they'll actually be able to do better contact tracing back to it. So you'll know who the driver is, you'll know who'll be riding on it, and you can limit the capacity. And so there are a lot of control measures that can be put in place to create a safer environment, particularly as we talk about critical services that are needed, like transportation.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor and Director. Next, we're going to take a question about public safety and kids. And our question comes from Stacy. Stacy, go right ahead. You're live on the line.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. You know, with kids in our community not having in-person school, I really worry about the most vulnerable kids who rely on school for safety and for food. And I know that our educators, social workers, they're often the ones to address and report child abuse. And I'm just wondering what we can do as a community to protect the safety of children, especially during the pandemic.
Thanks for that question, Stacy. And I'll touch on a little bit of it. And then I think we actually have a Lieutenant Sanders from APD. So let me begin, I think, by just acknowledging, you know, we talked about some of this in the beginning of the call, but it's just very important to remember it is just a reality in our city that often home might not always be the best place for a kid to be for the entire day. And we have utilized our school system and our city programs as ways for folks to even identify things such as, you know, child neglect and so forth, even sometimes child abuse. And on a less extreme component, but also very important, is also these nutritional challenges that we see quite often, where you can just tell over time that kids aren't getting enough nutritional meals throughout the day. So a couple of things that we're doing. Number one, at the city programs, we continue to increase the training that our program managers have to try and identify signs of things like child abuse and child neglect. And there is someone at each, for example, each community center who they can report that up through. But meals are one where we can really step up. And so especially our all-day programs come with a full lunch and also a very sort of second meal. It's more than a snack, but it's not quite dinner that they also get as well. So programs, kids who are involved in those programs are going to get that, and sometimes, unfortunately, that is the most nutritious meal of the day that they'll get. We also will continue working with APS, and we've always done this throughout Corona, on the meals that they're handing out. So kids can access vouchers. APS is starting to announce how to do that, and now you're getting sort of several days worth of food at a time. So for questions with respect to like the APS meal program, I would check on the APS website or check in with your particular school on how they're handling that. But it seems to be, at least the information we got, is you get sort of a ticket and then you show up at one of the high schools and you can get food for a couple of days. So we're always able to supplement that, and I think I would also just mention that for us, with respect to other challenges that might be happening at the home, there are some different numbers and so forth that we can call, and we really need the community to be watchful. So I think that's a good segue actually to Lieutenant Sanders. If you're on there, Lieutenant, go ahead and add in whatever you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor, for recognizing some of the concerns, and thank you everybody for being here tonight. I get this question very often about how to protect children at home and signs to look for. Unfortunately, as the mayor talked about, a lot of injuries and perpetrators are within a household, and right now is a time to be diligent on observing signs of any children that we come across, whether it's at a public venue or if you're visiting somebody or watching your neighbors a little bit. You're looking for specific things, reference physical abuse, you're looking for child neglect, emotional abuse, even some signs towards sexual abuse. And one of the big ones right now that people need to be a little bit aware of is just their online safety. As I kind of point out these areas, physical abuse is fairly easy to kind of recognize. You're looking for bruises that are abnormal. So, I mean, younger children are going to have bruises along their shins because they fall or they hit things, but they shouldn't be having bruises that are sequential on their arms that are looking like grabs. They shouldn't be having bruising around their ears, which also indicates a grab. Child neglect. Kids are outside right now trying to do whatever they can to stay entertained and stay busy. But if you're constantly seeing that a child is dirty or has unfit clothing, just really bad hygiene that you can notice, those are signs that are going above and beyond just normal childhood. Those children that you also see, if you're seeing that they're withdrawn from engaging people or engaging other kids, if they're just playing there while other groups are just playing there, there might be some additional stressors that are going on that are induced because of emotional issues, or even in some really serious concerning areas, sexual abuse. As always, if you suspect anything, call it in. If you're witnessing something that's abusive to a child right then and there, you need to call 911. But if you're noticing signs but there's nothing immediate, what I would tell you to do is call the statewide central intake of CYFD, SCI. And you can do that by either hitting pound safe on your phone or calling their 1-855-333-SAFE. And that will put you in contact with an expert to where they'll ask you certain questions and take down that information. That information will be relayed to CYFD investigators, and then it also comes over to the jurisdiction-appropriate law enforcement agency. So here within the city area, sometimes we get cross-jurisdiction with BCSO. This will get this across to everybody so we can get an expert reviewing this and going out. Just a couple real quick online areas that I wouldn't mind letting everybody know about for online safety tools is the Internet Crimes Against Children. It's called ICAC, ICAC. You can find them at icactaskforce.org. That's icactaskforce.org. They have a great amount of online safety tools for parents to review, very easy videos to watch, to kind of start looking for some concerning actions that children might be involved in. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, we're all online, and it's good to have that knowledge about where to go. The last part of the question that was talked about was a little bit about food and and resources for family. The mayor touched on a lot of great things. We also have the McKinney Vento program. That's where some children can get food supplies, clothing, blankets, other resources. You also have the Family Advocacy Center down at 625 Silver Southwest. That's actually where I work out of, and we actually house a lot of resources for kids, from clothing to diapers to food resources to even housing help. So we're available there. You can just grab us online. And I think that covers those questions. And I'm always available too. So if anybody needs to get a hold of me, I'm a valuable resource, and I'll assist with anything I can.
Great. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Sanders and Mayor. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one more question, and then we'll do a little bit of a closing. So our last question comes from Jane, and Jane has a question about essential workers. Jane, go right ahead.
Hi there. I am a City of Albuquerque essential worker, and currently I'm put in the category of healthcare providers and emergency responders, although I do not work in healthcare or as an emergency responder by traditional definitions, and my work does not involve the COVID-19 response directly. I'm wondering about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act leave. It's been a little discouraged by my supervisors, and I've been told it can be denied. If I can utilize this program intermittently, my husband and I can watch our kids and teach them without putting them in the care centers. I was wondering if there was any chance that there might be a change in the wording or if there's an appeal process if I'm denied.
Thanks so much for that question, and of course, thank you just for working for the city and for being. I understand sort of the nuance of what you're asking, but for just being able and willing to work in any capacity from home or otherwise during these times. So this is an interesting question. Obviously, this is as a city employee, this is a little bit of there's a piece here that is relevant to everyone who's working, and then a lot of it is relevant to the city. So let me kind of break that apart. Firstly, with respect to like the federal rules and so forth, that's one where I would really check in with HR on that aspect of it, and they can tell you sort of more specifically what the right way and who the right sort of division or unit is to talk through for your particular situation. But it's a city; it's actually a different answer. The current rules, I believe, that have come down through HR allow your supervisor going up to your director to basically make a judgment call on whether or not it might just be best for you to work at home. So I know, for example, just up here, most of the entire finance department can do their job at home just fine, and so there's usually like one or two of them here out of a team of like 30. So everyone else is working from home. So I would encourage you to just run that up through your supervisor, and each department is being treated differently because of what you expressed in terms of some non-traditional definitions of like who's essential and who's not. So for example, we have things like our sanitation workers, and they, it might seem obvious, but like it is critical that we still continue to pick up solid waste, and obviously you can't really do that job from home. So that's a clear-cut example, but there are difficult examples, and even in our planning department and so forth, where we've got to do inspections, but that can be done one day a week and so forth. So there is lots of flexibility built in the current regulations based on your specific division. So I would inquire through that channel first. And then I would say, too, once we get clarity from APS on what the school year is going to look like, I do know the city is going to be revising all of the work-from-home rules and so forth to try and better just accommodate everyone's life and also how to get work done. So we're like everyone else. We're waiting on APS, and we'll revise that policy shortly after.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor. And if you didn't get to your question, you will have the opportunity to leave a voicemail at the end of the call. So next, we're going to go to our closing from our First Lady, Elizabeth Keller, and Mayor Keller. Go right ahead.
Great, wonderful. Well, as we close up tonight, I just want to thank everyone again for making time to be on the call. We know whether your kids have gone to bed already or that's sort of a work in progress as we speak. These are precious moments at the end of what can be very busy and exhausting days. So we thank you for sharing those with us. We thank you for sharing these really insightful questions and the important answers from the panelists who were able to join us tonight. I know for Tim and I, it can be hard on some of these days that are very exhausting, but do try to take moments to laugh about some of the more hysterical things that have happened tonight. And of course, he's still in the office and I'm at home, but I'm sure he can't wait to see the number of quote unquote science experiments that are waiting for him in our freezer that the kids have crafted this afternoon. So I hope you all get a moment after this call to relax or laugh or smile or eat some more ice cream this evening. And just want to thank you all again for the incredible work you're doing for your kids, for your neighbors, for your communities, for the entire city, because we have never felt more that it's going to take all of us together working through this in an important way. So thank you for that, and over to you, Tim.
Well, thanks so much, and I can't wait to get home for sure. So it is fun to talk to my partner over the phone on a town hall. So I'll see you soon. But for everyone else out there, just want to echo really what Liz shared in a sense that these times have been really trying on families and on parents in a number of ways. And I think really trying to think through the spectrum of how deeply and how fragile and damaging this can be on some families. And also, for folks who aren't quite in those dire straits, trying to keep some really good perspective about, one day, hopefully, we're going to look back on this, right? And everyone is going to have stories to tell of the time of COVID or the time of Corona. And our kids are going to grow up and they're going to remember that one year when everything was different. And so in some ways, we are making lasting memories. And I think it's important to try and have as many, obviously positive memories that we can in that context. But a lot of it is certainly not easy. And I know even in New Mexico, our families typically include wide ranges of relations and grandparents and so forth. And that's been tough too, right? Not all of us, first off, have extended family. I mean, that's number one. We had a caller express that. And so important to remember that some folks don't have family to go to. Others, because of health reasons, you just can't rely on grandparents, especially in things like we used to. So those are all things that we're dealing with. And I know that in this city, though, we have a long history of really helping each other in times of need. And this goes back to one-off situations where different tragedies happen to families and the community comes together around them to, several hundred years of keeping this city vibrant and unique despite everything that we've been through. And so I also believe in Albuquerque, and I believe in all of our families in that there's no other city I would rather be in right now. We are a healthier city by all measures, Corona, compared to Austin and Denver and Phoenix and all these other cities around us. And I also think whether it's what our school system's trying to do or what our city's trying to do or what we're trying to do for each other through some of the great nonprofits that we've heard on tonight, we are trying to be there for each other in our time of need. And I think our city is much better at that than a lot of other places. And so I am proud to live here and I'm grateful to be raising our family here. So with that, let me just hope that everyone can stay safe and healthy. And I believe we're going to get through this together as one. And thank you very much for tuning in this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all of our City of Albuquerque officials and local experts who have joined us tonight to provide key information for everyone. As a reminder, the resource guide that includes links to the information discussed tonight can be found at cabq.gov/parentsresources, that's parents with an S. And if you have direct questions for the Albuquerque Public Schools, you can reach them at 855-9040 or at aps.edu. And thank you again to everyone who participated in today's telephone town hall. If you'd like to leave a message for the mayor or we didn't get to your question, please remain on the line and you can leave a voicemail in just a moment. This concludes the telephone town hall.